Hello everyone and welcome back to this NNRugby podcast. This week we have had another 5 games taking place, with the first one that we're going to look at being the Saints up against Leicester Tigers. So Tom, would you mind telling us how the game went for you?
I think the game was a good bit of fun. First half we were not in the game at all. We were getting absolutely trampled. Second half I think we came out and played better, but by then the damage was already done in the first half. Leicester came out and their forwards just absolutely strangled us. Their back row of Tommy Raphael, obviously man of the match, was brilliant, and our forwards and scrum just couldn't deal with it. Every breakdown was going Leicester's way, and our discipline as well. Spoke with Phil Dowson, and he was saying about how we conceded 23 penalties, which is far too many to win a game compared to Leicester's 11. But which is weird because the week before against Exeter, we only conceded 11 penalties, which is quite good for Northampton. Compared to 23, 23 is just you're not going to win a game with 23 penalties. We were just completely strangled at the breakdown, which means we couldn't get anything going.
What do you think was the biggest cause of the penalties? Was there a certain player, certain area, or do you think it was just Northampton being outdone by Leicester?
I think it was just Leicester's breakdown and Leicester's game plan. It just worked. Their game plan worked to a T. Ours never got running until about the 60th minute. Especially in the first half, we were having players like Chesham and Tommy Raphael for Leicester charging our kicks down, which we'll never usually see with likes of Alex Mitchell at our scrum half. But if his kicks are getting charged down from the rucks, then we've clearly got an issue. I think it was just Leicester's game plan which completely broke us.
With Northampton having had the 2 yellow cards fairly early on or midway through the second half, do you think they were a contributing factor to the downfall, or do you think that didn't really make as much of a difference as you'd expect?
I think, especially the first one with Matavesi, who just came on in the second half, or the whole of the first half, was I don't think we won a scrum, or if we did, it was maximum 2, which is then odd. Week before, we didn't lose a scrum against Exeter, but players like Alex Waller were just under constant pressure from Leicester's front row. We couldn't get anything going from it, and then obviously we made the subs in the second half, and once again everything's not going our way. And then obviously ex-Saints Francois Van Veet gets his try, and as soon as Leicester got their first try, then all floodgates just opened. To be fair, I think we played better with 13 men when Matavesi and Ethan Waller were both sent to the bin at the same time. We played better with 13. We actually got on the board with Furbank's try. Obviously, controversial opinion with Dixon and Henry Pollock's knock-on. You speak to any Saints fans, they'll say it wasn't a knock-on. You speak to any Leicester fans, they'll say it will. But that's derbies, that's how it goes. Personally, I don't think it was a knock-on, but Tommy Freeman would have been over. Conversion added on top of that, we would have been within 2 points with at least 20 minutes to go. We were on the front foot at that point as well, but game's the game, sport is the sport. Nothing much you can do.
And looking forward to their game up against Harlequins, do you think there's anything that they need to make sure they change, or anything that could be changed to help them with that game?
I think it'll be a good game to begin with. Harlequins playing it very well. Week before they were at Welford Road in Leicester, and they put on a show, beating Leicester. I think we will need Saints play some very flowing rugby, especially on the attack. Not a lot of structure, and that was shown against Leicester. We had no structure in the scrum, in the rucks, in any sort of breakdown. We would just beat the ball constantly, and I think for Quins, we will need some sort of structure, because Harlequins seeing that will just bring the exact same sort of game plan. And I mean, we've got some injuries as well currently. With Dowson was saying Hutchinson sprained his ankle with a hoarding. Finn Smith came off in the second half against Leicester with having a back spasm. So it'll be key to see what players make a return for that. But yeah, I think it'll be a good game on Friday. And Cam, so you're at the Owens game this weekend. How was that?
Very interesting game. Owens took the lead very early on, and then were able to try and hold on to it. Showed their quality in the first half, considering they were 6th place in the table playing the team above them, or maybe actually 7th playing 6th. But they were trying to just show that they are the better side and should be above them in the table, and then were able to hold on to it. Missed 6 points at the very beginning of the game, 2 penalty kicks that just strayed wide, or just fell short, but kept on showing their promise, kept on. I mean, they did have injuries from the beginning of the game, basically. One of their players was down within the first 2 minutes, I think. Had to get subbed off, and that wasn't the only injury they had throughout the game. I think it was 3 in total. And from speaking to the coach afterwards, there's been a lot more than just those 3 throughout the past few weeks. They've not actually been able to start even the same team for more than 1 week yet. It's constantly changing, which is causing them greater issues than I think they probably would have been expecting would have been caused. And then, it was just second half. Sudbury came back out, showed they wanted the game badly. Then they just they took the lead and then just carried, I think it was after the 4th try, and then just carried on every single time they lost it, trying to make it be, they regained it. They got their 5th try. As soon as they got their 5th try, I think that was when Owens saw it as it was close, but it was probably game over then. But the Sudbury, I have to say, did very well. I heard the coach saying about how that was the 3rd time in a row now between the men's and women's team that they were behind at half time and were able to pull it back in the second half. So very well done to them. For Owens, it is just those injury issues need to be fixed soon. They'll obviously be hoping that with the break this weekend, not having to play a game, that will give some of the players a chance to get back to be able to play, and then they'll hope to try and be able to use the same squad for more than just 1 game per week.
How do you think Owens are going into this weekend's game?
And then now, following on with the extra games that happen this weekend, we have Tom Toseland. So Tom, why don't you start with the Old Scouts game?
Well, it was a very tight game with the Old Scouts. They drew with Lutterworth 35-35. This was a decent result for them. It was their first non-win of the season, but they're still unbeaten at the moment compared to everyone else in the Regional 2 Midlands East League. At the moment, they actually drew with second placed in the league Lutterworth, which they lead them by about 3 points in the league. So it's a decent result for Old Scouts. It keeps them at the top of the league. Knowing them, I think they would be quite frustrated with that result, because I think they really, really wanted to go the whole season just winning and just kind of steamrolling the league. But again, it's not the worst result in the world. It's not like worst case scenario ever, but it's definitely not what they would have needed / wanted. But it's still, as I said, they still have a decent gap in the league. And the next 2 teams, Lutterworth and Market Harbour, are around 3 points. 3 points back from them. So it's not the end of the world for them.
Yeah, it does sound like a very tough game for them, and I do agree that they probably will be frustrated by it, but I think that it's one of those games you just have to try and take, and if you're up against the second team in the league, you know that you're gonna be happy getting a point because they at least get to stay undefeated. But it means, yes, they are missing out on 2 points, but as you said, they are still 3 points ahead. And the other game for this weekend was BBOBs. So how did they get on?
Not very well, to be fair. They've had their first loss of the season against Stamford College Old Boys, which they'll be extremely frustrated with. As Stamford College Old Boys, I think that is their first win of the season, so they wouldn't have wanted to lose to a team that, really is in the same kind of competition as them. They're not on really the same level, so it's going to be a very frustrating result for them. They're in second now by 4 points in the league, as Rugby St Andrews have gone to the top of Counties 3 Midlands East, South. So not good for them. And I think it was a bit of a case of the commentator's curse, because we kind of concentrated this week on when we went and did our interviews about how Old Scouts and BBOB were the only two teams in Northamptonshire still unbeaten. And then the one time we cover this, they one of them draws, and then one of them gets their first loss of the season. So, yeah, a bit of a curse set by us there, which was quite unfortunate. But in the end, it's not the worst thing in the world. Still a long way to go in this season, and yeah, I think they'll be able to recuperate. They're a good group of guys there, and yeah, I think they just need to get back into a rhythm of things and really just bounce back from this result, which I think they can do, because they've been class this season. And the other thing is, when we went and spoke to them, they said they did kind of, when they go up against these lower teams, they kind of try and play against them, if that makes sense. It's kind of like they try and play them at the lower team's level. They kind of get sucked down to their level. So I think that, yeah, what they need to kind of try and learn from this is to just try and play how they usually would, and at the high level we all know they can play at.
And then the final game that we're going to talk about quickly is the Casuals. So how did Casuals do this weekend in comparison to the previous weeks?
Well, as I said on the Insta and the Twitter, it was not a good week to be a Northampton rugby fan, because they also lost to Luton at 50-29. So, well, really not a great result for them. That is now they've only won one game in their last 5 now, so really not a great result for Casuals. But yeah, hopefully they can get it turned around there, and yeah, really hopefully there'll be a bit of an improvement in performances, because they have shown that they are a good team when they come together, because they had that win over Bedford Swifts at the start of this month. So it's just, yeah, I think it's just all about kind of them all gelling together, really.
Well, thank you very much for that, Tom, and thank you for joining us on the podcast. So thank you to Tom Tosland for those final match reports. Thank you to Tom Harrington for the Saints report. And that will be us done for today. So please do come back next week to listen to us again next week. And yes.
Bye-bye.
Bye.